You're not unmotivated, you're overloaded. A digital overload reality check. Ethan used to believe he was lazy. That was the simplest explanation. It felt honest, responsible, mature, even. He would wake up tired, scroll for an hour, rush through the morning, promise himself he would focus after work, then somehow lose the entire evening to videos, messages, and endless notifications. At night, lying in the dark with his phone glowing inches from his face, he would whisper the same sentence. What's wrong with me? He had goals. Real ones. He wanted to get in shape. Start a small online business. Read more. Learn a new skill. Build something that made him proud. Instead, he consumed. He consumed news. Short videos. Podcasts he barely remembered. Opinions. Drama. Productivity hacks he never used. Every day ended with the same quiet guilt. Tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow never was. One Saturday morning, Ethan sat at his desk determined to work on his business idea. He opened his laptop, created a blank document, typed a title, and then, almost automatically, opened a new tab. Just for a second, he checked his email, then social media, then a video someone had shared. 37 minutes disappeared. He hadn't even noticed the transition. His brain felt busy, but he had done nothing. He leaned back in his chair, frustrated. I have no discipline, he muttered. But deep down, something didn't add up. He wasn't lazy at work. He met deadlines. He solved problems. He handled responsibility. So why did he collapse the moment he had freedom? That afternoon, he met his friend Maya at a small coffee shop downtown. Maya was different from most people Ethan knew. She wasn't extreme or preachy. She wasn't anti-technology. She used social media, watched shows, listened to music. But she seemed calm, focused, present. When Ethan arrived, she was sitting outside, phone face down on the table, reading a book. You look tired, she said, smiling gently. I am tired, Ethan replied. And I haven't even done anything. Maya closed her book. What do you mean? I mean I'm exhausted all the time. I can't focus. I can't finish anything. I want to do so much, but I just don't. I think I'm lazy. Maya didn't respond immediately. Instead, she asked, how much time do you spend on your phone? Ethan laughed. Normal amount. Which is? He hesitated. Maybe 4 hours. 5. She raised an eyebrow. He checked his screen time report. 6 hours and 42 minutes. His stomach dropped. That's not even counting laptop time, Maya said softly. Ethan felt defensive. Everyone does that. Exactly, she replied. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Maya said something that shifted everything. You're not lazy. You're overstimulated. The word felt unfamiliar. Overstimulated. I just lack discipline, Ethan insisted. No, Maya said calmly. You're drowning in dopamine. Ethan frowned. Dopamine. Every notification. Every scroll. Every swipe. Every new piece of content. Your brain is being rewarded constantly. It never has to work for satisfaction anymore. So when you sit down to do something slow, something hard, something meaningful, it feels unbearable. Ethan felt uncomfortable hearing it. Because it made sense. Maya continued. You don't have a motivation problem. You have a stimulation problem. That sentence followed Ethan home. That night, instead of watching videos in bed, he searched for answers. He read about dopamine detox, about social media addiction, about how constant stimulation rewires the brain to crave novelty over depth. He read that when you consume high-intensity digital rewards all day, normal life begins to feel dull. Reading feels slow. Working feels heavy. Thinking feels painful. Not because you're lazy, but because your brain is comparing it to the speed and excitement of endless scrolling. Ethan felt exposed. The problem wasn't that he didn't want success. It was that he had trained his brain to prefer distraction. The next morning, he woke up and reached for his phone. He stopped halfway. Just this once, he thought. He put it back down. The silence felt strange. He lay there staring at the ceiling, aware of how uncomfortable it felt to simply exist without stimulation. After 5 minutes, he grabbed the phone anyway. He wasn't ready. Change doesn't begin with perfection. It begins with awareness. Over the next few days, Ethan started noticing patterns. He reached for his phone during every tiny gap. In line at the store. In the elevator. During commercials. Between tasks. Even while watching something else. His brain feared empty space. And empty space was exactly what it needed. One evening, he decided to experiment. Not a dramatic detox. Not deleting everything. Not disappearing from the world. Just one rule. No phone after 8 p.m. At 8:03, his hand twitched toward it. At 8:10, he felt restless. At 8:17, he walked around his apartment, unsure what to do. Without digital noise, the room felt louder. His thoughts felt louder. Old worries resurfaced. Ideas he had ignored returned. He felt bored. Deeply bored. But he didn't break the rule. Instead, he picked up a notebook. He hadn't written by hand in years. At first, his thoughts were messy. Complaints. Frustration. Random observations. Then something shifted. His mind slowed. For the first time in months, he wasn't reacting. He was thinking. The boredom softened into clarity. That night, he slept differently. Not perfectly, but deeper. The next day at work, something subtle changed. Tasks felt slightly easier. Conversations felt clearer. He wasn't checking his phone every 5 minutes. The urge was still there. But he saw it now. And awareness creates choice. Weeks passed. Ethan expanded the experiment. He removed social media apps from his home screen. He turned off non-essential notifications. He stopped watching short-form videos entirely. The first weekend without them felt unbearable. Time stretched. Minutes moved slowly. He felt like he was missing something important. But what exactly? Nothing specific. Just the constant stream of novelty his brain had grown addicted to. He realized something painful. He hadn't been using his phone because he loved the content. He had been using it to avoid discomfort. Avoid silence. Avoid thinking about what he really wanted. Avoid facing the gap between his current life and his potential. Stimulation had become anesthesia. Without it, reality felt sharper. But it also felt more honest. One Sunday afternoon, sitting alone without digital noise, Ethan felt a wave of emotion. Regret. Not because he had wasted years, but because he had mistaken exhaustion for laziness. He wasn't incapable. He was overloaded. His brain had been running a marathon of micro-rewards every day. No wonder real work felt impossible. He began to understand productivity differently. Productivity wasn't about squeezing more tasks into a day. It was about protecting attention. Attention was his most valuable resource, and he had been giving it away for free. As his digital consumption decreased, something unexpected happened. He became restless in a different way. Ideas surfaced. Business ideas. Creative thoughts. Questions. He felt an urge to build. Not because someone motivated him, but because there was space. Space invites creation. Constant input blocks it. One evening, instead of scrolling, he opened the document he had abandoned weeks earlier. The same blank page. The same title. But this time, his mind didn't resist as strongly. He wrote for 20 minutes. Not perfectly. Not brilliantly. But consistently. When he finished, he felt something unfamiliar. Satisfaction. Not the quick spike of a viral video. Not the shallow hit of a notification. A slower, steadier reward. Earned. That feeling was quieter. But it lasted longer. Ethan began to see the difference between pleasure and fulfillment. Pleasure is fast. Fulfillment is built. Pleasure demands nothing. Fulfillment demands effort. And his brain had been conditioned to choose the easier path. As the weeks continued, the cravings didn't disappear. They changed. Sometimes, after a stressful day, he felt the old pull. Just one scroll. Just one video. Sometimes he gave in. But now it felt different. He noticed the aftertaste. The fog. The slight dissatisfaction that followed. Awareness doesn't eliminate temptation. It makes the cost visible. One afternoon, he met Maya again. "You look different," she said. "Less scattered." Ethan smiled. "I'm not perfect. You don't need to be. I still waste time sometimes." She nodded. "This isn't about becoming extreme. It's about reclaiming control." Ethan took a deep breath. "I thought I had a productivity problem, but it was a stimulation problem." Maya smiled. "Exactly." He told her about the boredom, the discomfort, the strange clarity that followed. She listened carefully. "Most people never get past the boredom phase," she said. "They think boredom means something is wrong. But boredom is the doorway." Doorway to what? To depth. That word stayed with him. Depth. In a world designed for speed. As months passed, Ethan's life didn't transform overnight. He didn't become a millionaire. He didn't wake up at 4 a.m. every day. He didn't delete every app and move to the mountains. He did something quieter. He became intentional. He scheduled time for consumption instead of letting it consume him. He chose long-form content over rapid clips. He read books again. At first, 10 pages felt exhausting. Then 20. Then 50. His attention span stretched like a muscle being retrained. His business idea evolved from notes to action. He built a simple website. Launched a small project. It grew slowly. Painfully slowly. But he didn't quit. Because his brain was no longer addicted to instant validation. He was learning patience. One night, while walking home without headphones, he noticed something strange. The city felt alive. The air felt cooler. The sounds felt sharper. For years, he had walked through life buffered by noise. Music. Podcasts. Notifications. Now, he was simply there. And presence felt powerful. He began noticing conversations more deeply. Listening without planning his next response. Spending time with friends without checking his phone under the table. He felt less rushed. Less fragmented. The world hadn't slowed down. He had. And in slowing down, he regained energy. The irony wasn't lost on him. He had believed constant stimulation gave him energy. In reality, it drained him. True energy came from focus. From completion. From depth. From sleep without blue light glowing into his eyes at midnight. One evening, he reflected on the past year. The difference wasn't dramatic from the outside. Same apartment. Same job. Same city. But internally, everything had shifted. He trusted himself more. When he set aside time to work, he worked. When he rested without guilt. He no longer confused distraction with relaxation. Relaxation restored him. Distraction depleted him. He also understood something deeper about social media addiction. It wasn't about weakness. It was about design. Platforms were built to capture attention, to maximize engagement, to feed the brain unpredictable rewards. He stopped blaming himself. Instead, he took responsibility. There is a difference. Blame says, I am broken. Responsibility says, I have power. And power returns when awareness grows. One afternoon, a coworker confided in him. I don't know what's wrong with me, the coworker said. I can't focus. I feel lazy all the time. Ethan recognized the tone. He had said those same words months earlier. You're not lazy, he replied quietly. You might just be overloaded. They talked about dopamine detox, about reducing stimulation instead of increasing discipline, about creating boredom on purpose. The coworker looked skeptical. Ethan understood. It sounded too simple. But simplicity is often uncomfortable, because it removes excuses. That night, Ethan sat alone with a cup of tea, phone in another room. He didn't feel deprived. He felt clear. He realized something profound. The world profits from your distraction, but your future depends on your focus. No one will protect your attention for you. You must do it yourself. He no longer chased productivity as an aesthetic. He built it as a practice. One focused hour became two. Two became a habit. His side project slowly gained traction. Not viral success. Sustainable progress. And sustainable progress felt better than spikes. He still enjoyed technology. He still used social platforms. But he used them like tools. Not like oxygen. The biggest change wasn't in his schedule. It was in his identity. He stopped calling himself lazy. He started calling himself responsible for his attention. That shift changed everything. Years from now, people might look at his success and assume he had discipline all along. They wouldn't see the small, quiet battles. The moments of boredom. The evenings staring at walls instead of screens. The slow rebuilding of an attention span. But Ethan would know. He would remember that it began not with ambition, but with honesty. You're not lazy. You're overstimulated. You're not broken. You're overloaded. Your brain isn't weak. It's overwhelmed. The solution isn't more pressure. It's less noise. Less scrolling. Less constant input. More space. More silence. More intentional focus. Ethan's life didn't change because he downloaded a new productivity app. It changed because he removed what was numbing him. When the noise faded, his natural drive returned. Your drive is still there. Buried under notifications. Hidden beneath endless consumption. Waiting for space. If you feel stuck, exhausted, unfocused, constantly distracted, ask yourself one question. When was the last time you were truly bored? Not mildly entertained. Not multitasking. Truly alone with your thoughts. That discomfort might be the doorway. On the other side of it is clarity. On the other side of it is energy. On the other side of it is the version of you that doesn't need constant stimulation to feel alive. Ethan learned that productivity isn't about doing more. It's about reclaiming attention in a world that competes for it every second. And once you reclaim your attention, you reclaim your direction. The world will continue to shout. Notifications will continue to buzz. New content will always be waiting. But you get to decide how much of yourself you give away. You're not lazy. You're overloaded. Reduce the noise. Create space. Let your mind breathe. And watch what happens. If this story resonated with you and you want consistent, value-driven content that helps you think clearer, grow stronger, and build real focus in a distracted world, subscribe and join the journey.